Maybe to start with just a little bit of contextual information about the project so that you have a rough idea about what is it about. Without going into technical details, so if you ever need more information, you will have the link to the website at the end, and I will still be here tomorrow. So if you have any like very specific questions about the project, don't hesitate. But for now, what is Mindchangers? So as Thor mentioned, we are also part of the same DEAR program. So roughly the objectives and the topics are the same. But in Mindchangers, we decided to focus on two main areas, which are climate and migration. What are the three main activities or main objectives that we have with Mindchangers? The first one is to raise public awareness on those main focus areas, climate and migration. Also to work hand in hand with youth. And with youth, we have a broad definition of 15 to 35-year-olds. So in case you were wondering if you were still part of it, then you have your answer here. And the main idea was to support them in their awareness process, but also in their move from awareness to engagement and active participation in topics and in projects related to climate and migration. The other interesting aspect and objective of Mindchangers was, and still is, the specific work that we are doing with local authorities and civil society organizations that are working with the youth at the local level. And we wanted to help them develop means, develop innovative techniques and new opportunities to collaborate with the youth and to try new things, to be more open to partnerships and co-construction with the youth. So what does it mean concretely in figures? As Game On, the project is going on for 4 years. So it started in 2020 and it will actually end next year. We have a total budget of a little bit over 8 million euros for the 4 years for all of the activities that we organized within the project. The Mindchangers is covering 6 EU regions. I will present the partnership right after. But as main activities in each of the regions, we've had 2 calls for proposals, meaning that we managed to finance local initiatives in those 6 regions. We also had more than 6 capacity building activities and workshops with local authorities, civil society organizations and the youth, and also 2 main international events. 2 main regional events, sorry, and also at the partnership level, 2 international youth meetings, including the one that will happen in Stuttgart next week, as I mentioned this morning. I've also mentioned a research that we conducted on youth engagement and perception of the youth on their engagement, and it led to a practical guide that is also available to download with a series of very useful recommendations for future projects, and to work also on public awareness. We've also set up a pan-European communication campaign to keep on the work on raising awareness about climate and migration, and also to keep the public informed about the project realizations. So we've decided to work with this simple motto that is no act change. So to start with getting the knowledge, getting aware of the issues, finding new ways to act, and by acting, contributing to change the world and becoming a mind changer. All right, so a few words about the partnership. So as I've mentioned, Mindchangers is unfolding in 6 EU regions, but we are actually 9 partners involved. 9 partners representing either local authorities or networks of CSOs or networks of NGOs. And we also have one academic partner. So in Italy, which is the lead of the project, we have Regione Piemonte and the consortium of NGOs. I won't read it. I mean, you have it on the screen. So maybe just to mention that, as you can see, all the partners here for Mindchangers aren't really youth experts or, let's say, organizations that work really with youth in a general sense. It is mostly either local authorities or networks of associations working in the field of international cooperation or development education and cooperation. So this is also maybe something significant about the project, is that we wanted to put the youth back into the focus and at the center of the preoccupations, because we think that it is also important for us as partners to include youth in the way that we consider and build new projects. So we wanted to include the youth in a more systematic way also in that sense. What else? All right, so here, so I won't take you through the whole of the project and all the steps and all the activities, but maybe to have some food for thought that could be interesting for you as a takeout for future projects is those 4 points that I think are important and I think were significant for Mindchangers. The first one is think global, act local. As I mentioned this morning, maybe Mindchangers is something we wanted to focus on small scale initiatives and to start from grassroots movements. So we decided to focus more on quality than quantity. And that way, we acted in this think global, act local, in the sense that we wanted to have some to identify small groups of really, really engaged people at the local level that could then help and work on establishing closer ties and more, let's say, intense ties to think on a global basis, and to work on snowball effects. So starting from the bottom and slowly having this zoom out effect, so that local problems or challenges could also find some kind of echo in the whole world. The second topic that was really important to us is youth engagement. So we explored the concept in detail, starting with what do we mean by youth engagement? How is it perceived by the youth? How do we want it to be perceived? And for that, we worked with different very interesting tools, including the pyramid of engagement, to see and to try to measure also engagement and with everything that comes with it. So is it better to have in the course of the project one youth who is very, very active and involved only 1 week, or a group of youth who sends some messages or reacts from time to time over the course of, I don't know, a few months? So depending on your projects and your objective, what do you think is more important for the message that you want to get across? And the question of youth engagement was also, it materialized in the research that we did. So we conducted a research in each of the partner countries, and then we made it a pan-European research report on youth engagement. And this formed the basis for our practical guide with the recommendations. You will find a link at the end of the presentation if you're curious about all this. So what is important about this practical guide is it's really been elaborated on the basis of all the information that we collected from the youth themselves. So it's been really the product of a participative process. And it is also evolutive in the sense that the practical guide will also be updated and consolidated by the reflections that will come up when the youth meet in Stuttgart, and they will also have the opportunity to think back on the answers that were given during the survey, and that will be also able to question some of the answers and to discuss the recommendations so that something more concrete can come out of it. Reflection lab. So here about Mindchangers, the important and the interesting thing was that in a sense, it's acted as an experimental lab in a way that we could have the time to experiment new methods, to really give the opportunity to LAs and CSOs to test new models and to find new ways of approaching the youth and of building projects with them. So by offering financial support, but also methodological support, we managed to create a community of different actors and stakeholders who would have time to put their efforts together and create projects together. So this is all about having this safe space also to be able to innovate in a collective way. And this learning perspective is quite interesting and quite important because it also contributes to community-based lifelong learning in the sense that one of the successes of the project is that it answered to a very specific need of the youth themselves, but also LAs and CSOs to find moments to just come together and exchange on their the difficulties, the aims, the goals, and to come together and find some kind of meeting point to be able to build something together. So in that regard, I think it was also quite interesting, both for the projects that we finance, but also for us partners, to have this opportunity to constantly confront ideas and to grow together in the projects. All right, and to finish, just to circle back on the two main topics. So I know that Game On is mostly about climate. So maybe just to have a final word also on mentioning migration. It was important for us to address both climate and migration because as I've put in the slide, planet and people are actually two sides of the same coin, and for us it was impossible to consider one without the other. So in that sense, a lot of the activities and a lot of the projects that we funded through the subgranting activity have this migration component, and we managed to have migration addressed from very different perspectives and angles of approach. But always with the same idea, the idea that we need to foster dialogue. And it's only by encouraging this dialogue that we can work together towards better inclusion and social justice. So as many of us partners work in international cooperation. We also encourage the grantees to establish links with the Global South. Some were already doing it on a regular basis through their regular activities. Some had the opportunity to actually try new things and establish new relations with the Global South, with the Mindchangers project. So the point was to question the idea of the narrative as well. So when we do project with the Global South, when we consider the consequences of climates on migration, when we see all the reports on the television or on social media, where does the narrative come from? Is it actually the people who are primarily concerned with it, who are given the chance to talk, or is it someone else who's telling the story for them? So this is also something that we wanted to focus on the project. So I won't really list all of the granted projects that we have funded within Mindchangers, because it would mean describing all of them as they are all unique and interesting. And they are very, very diverse in the way that they manage to talk about migration. But just to cite some examples of projects that were about migration, they managed to address the topic in a very variety of ways, including through artistic creation, immersive experimentation, documentary exploration, and also advocacy. So this is very encouraging, and we are very glad that we have been given the opportunity to work with them and to see the tremendous work that they are doing. So if you want to know more about the projects, I invite you to scan the QR code, and you will end up on the official Mindchangers website, where you can find everything that I've mentioned this evening. So you will have access to the practical guide, the research. If you're interested in a particular region, you also have the regional reports available. And you can browse through the website and discover all the fabulous projects that compose the Mindchangers team. Thank you.
You cannot leave yet. Maybe someone has some questions for you, Beatrice. So that said, thank you very much, Bea, for the presentation. The Mindchangers project is a fantastic one. As she will mention, next week they are having this international conference in Stuttgart. I am not sure if registration possibilities, at least for the people who are close by, are allowed, or will it be streamed? Okay.
I hope I won't say anything wrong, but registrations are open for the public event. So we will have a public event on Wednesday afternoon. And I think we will have people connecting remotely, but I'm not sure we will have live streaming, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think we are not as tech savvy as you.
No. Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any question for Beatrice regarding the Mindchangers project and what she just presented? Yes.
Hi, I have a question. So, in the project, can you name a specific challenge that you faced and a solution towards it, so that we gain some of the expertise as well?
I think one of the main challenges was to reach out to the youth who weren't already part of the already engaged and motivated youth. So we also wanted to we wanted to work on two levels. So providing opportunities for already engaged youth and were feeling maybe a little bit overwhelmed by the current state of the world, to find new ways of engaging again in a positive way and finding new innovative ways to have their voices heard. But on the other side, we also wanted to address those youth who weren't engaged, and to start with understand why. So that's why we worked on this research, and we collected youth opinions via surveys and also qualitative interviews to get to know the main barriers that they were feeling, and from those barriers that we identified, work on possible solutions. So that's basically what the recommendations are about. Some main barriers that are identified, and a few solutions or recommendations that could be implemented, knowing well that whether you are a local authority or a civil society organization, of course, some recommendations will be, let's say, more easily implemented than others. But at least it gives a few pointers, and I think a good starting base to start tackling those barriers.
Anyone else has another question? Then I guess thank you very much, Beatrice, once again. And well, this leads us to the closing of the day. Thank you very much for everyone. I think it has been a nice opening, getting to know a little bit more about the basics of Game On, with a rather interesting panel discussion in the morning. I really hoped you enjoyed the different parallel sessions to which you participated. I could see a lot of excitement in the room of upcycling and gardening. It was very hard to take them out to bring them here. I do not know if they will be returning after I close the event for today, but I hope it was a fruitful first day, and closing with the Mindchangers project, and also having this capacity to see not only the climate change problem in the way that Game On is seeing it, but adding another component that is super important, the one of migrations, that really tells us a lot about the complexity, generally speaking, that we are facing, and how we need to keep eyes to the plethora of problems and challenges out there. That's it for today. Thank you very much for accompanying us.